So absurd. It's upsetting. I mean, the crap that they give people to talk about, and then that people just accept it. It's just amazing. It doesn't even matter how absurd it is.
Because they're trying to fabricate the rivalry. Because if you really think about it, and what I was touching on during the live, is that LeBron James really cheated himself out of those rivalries to have that legit competition. When we think about a lot of the players that, didn't win championships during the 90s, it's because they kept that rivalry going. They didn't decide to team up. Like I was mentioning, Charles Barkley and Patrick Ewing didn't decide to team up and try to beat Michael Jordan. And, Michael Jordan didn't try to team up with Charles Barkley and Patrick Ewing and try to beat the Detroit Pistons and so forth and so on. So some of those guys ended up in their career without a championship when maybe they could have joined up and, hey, if I can't beat them, join them, so to speak.
Good morning,
All right.
self-researched NBA facts. Welcome
What's
to the
up,
show.
guys? I got a new phone. It's having some technical difficulties. Thanks for bearing with me. What's up,
And
Rob?
no need for apologies. Jim, are you kidding me, man? Straight up, thank you very much for coming through again, man. Everyone knows the deal. Self-research, NBA facts. This dude does all the work for you. Once again, the dude's doing the damn work for you. He's doing all of the effort. He's doing it all for you, lazy fools out there that don't want to listen to someone like me just yell at you. Please, he's a lot more soft-spoken, and he's going to do all the work for you. You can be lazy. Just turn on a damn thing and listen.
And
Appreciate that.
I don't know how recent it is, but while I was jogging this morning, you came on, Jim, and you were, I think it's pretty recent. You were talking about debunking the Gary Payton shutting down Jordan thing. And it's just another example of how the Last Dance allowed some of these ideas to be out there and glorify some people. Like it glorified Pippen in ways that he didn't deserve to be glorified. And a lot of people think that it just shit on Pippen, but it actually gave Pippen credit for things he didn't even deserve credit for.
No, right? You talking about the Gary Payton, the 96 finals?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was with a lot of other people on that one. I thought, okay, so when Jordan busted out laughing, everybody's seen the meme when he was handed the reaction from Gary Payton, and I was thinking, oh, come on, Mike, maybe Peyton was guarding you tougher than you want to give him credit for, until I actually just focused on the times that Gary Payton guarded Jordan in that finals. You look at it, it's nothing like what they're saying. I think the final number was he shot 56% when Gary Payton guarded him, and he was 17 for 18 from the line. He fouled him a lot. There was one on a three-pointer. There was a couple and ones. Really, Hersey Hawkins played him maybe tougher than Gary Payton did. So again, these narratives, I don't know how they take form, but I'm sure you guys have heard it too, where, oh, if Gary Payton would have guarded him the whole series, and I'm thinking, not really. You go back, watch the film. Again, we have the film to watch it. And it was nothing like what the media says. And of course, your Nick Wrights, your Shannon Sharps, they run with anything they can get their hands on. So yeah, it was very interesting. That was just like a project I was working on. I wasn't even going to release it till I realized like people are going to want to see this. This is outrageous. You know what I mean? Like he would blow right by Gary Payton. The only thing happened was he was good at denying Jordan the ball. He did a good job because they were letting the refs let him play very rough. But it was Detlef Schrempf, it was David Wingate, Vincent Askew, even Kemp guarded Jordan on, I don't know, 10 or 12 possessions in that series. But it is nothing like what the media or a lot of fans, I call them robot sheep, what they say. It's nothing like that at all.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say that if there was one thing where I was like, come on, Jordan, you don't have to be that disrespectful of Gary. Gary was a good defender, and and he kind of scoffed, and he's like, I had no problem with the glove, and I was like, you don't have to say it like that. Even I was
right.
say it like that. But when you turn around and you find out that it wasn't even close, and the reality is that they blew up how he defended him, then you can kind of. I might say it like that. Like if you destroyed somebody and then the media said, "Oh, he shut you down," you might be like, come on. I have no problem.
Yeah, and
right.
And Jim, what's interesting about what you were just saying, and you're on the money as usual, is also people don't mention the job that Michael Jordan did on Gary Payton on the defensive end when Ron Harper went down with that injury. A lot of people forget that Ron Harper, I believe it might have been game 3 that he only played 1 minute, I believe. And then when he tried to come back for game 4, I believe he only played like 13 minutes. So people
Right.
forget that when that happened, because Ron Harper was playing excellent defense on
He
Gary
was.
Payton in those first couple of. I remember they were calling Gary Payton the Mitten. They were actually saying, "Hey man, Ron Harper, they got a little nickname for you called the Mitten." I remember Ron Harper was laughing about that. And he's like, "I don't want to be called the Mitten," because they were saying that he was covering up the glove because of his defensive pressure that he was doing. But when he went
Sure.
down, Michael Jordan stepped up on Gary Payton, was playing really excellent hard-nosed defense. But you're right about one thing, like you said, Jim. What Gary Payton was doing was making Michael Jordan work to get to those spots in the post, like you said, to get the basketball back.
Yeah.
And that's where you spend a lot of energy, trying to deny someone the basketball, trying to get your position if you're Michael Jordan. So oftentimes Gary Payton would force Michael Jordan maybe where he didn't want to catch the basketball. But like you said, the result was usually a made field goal by Michael
Yes.
Jordan. And the pressure that he was putting on the Seattle Seahawks, Sox defense can't be denied, man. When you talk about how many times he was getting to the free throw line, he's putting pressure on those guys.
Yes. And then what it was is the game plan was pretty simple. Whenever Jordan got the ball, the guy in the perimeter would guard him tight. If he took one dribble, a second man came immediately. They just collapsed on him every time he got the ball. So he was forced into a lot of fadeaways and tough shots,
Yep.
or he had to just knife through the defense around 2-3 guys, which he was successful some of the time. Other times he wasn't. But it was a really good the problem in that series, why people think that, Seattle played so good, all the open shots, Ron Harper, Tony Kukoc, Steve Kerr, wide open, just kept missing them, like shot after shot. Pippen too, they all look at their field goal percentage, they were so poor, and they were wide open because they paid so much attention to Jordan. That's why it was the way it was. But if they were to hit shots, it could have been a sweep. I mean, really, at least in 5 games. Seattle wasn't what people are saying. I mean, you go back and watch that series and just focus on certain things. You get a whole new understanding of what really happened. The Bulls just missed a lot of shots. That's just what happened. Rodman and Longley, they kind of ran roughshod over him in the middle. Longley had like career highs in that series, and Rodman just kill him on the boards because it was all about Jordan. They just were not going to let Jordan beat him. So, I mean, you go back and watch with that perspective in mind, and you see, these media narratives are just so blown out of proportion or lies, it's just not true, a lot of it. So,
Yep.
It's just for the people listening to know what to expect today. We're going to spend some time on this article that was sent to Robin about LeBron having more accolades.
Oh, yes.
yeah.
And we have Mr. Research here to provide some nice insights on that. I have a more basic warm-up question for you guys. LeBron just runs his mouth all the time, and it seems like every podcast he goes to, it's in order to make an excuse for a past failure, throw someone under the bus, or compliment himself. I mean, he did it twice in a week with the new Mind the Game, or It's Just Basketball podcast, and of course the McAfee thing that we're still discovering new absurd quotes about. Is it a blessing for us? This is my question. Is it a blessing that he keeps providing all of this ammo, or are we so far gone as a society because people just accept what arrogant dumb fucks in power say without question, that it doesn't matter how dumb what he says is or how embarrassing what he says is? Is it gonna bite him in the ass, or are we past the point that you can be bitten in the ass? Robin, you're first.
Well, I think it's a little bit of both in the aspect or the regard that I guess it's a blessing for us in the fact that it kind of confirms a lot of the things that we say. That's what it helps to do. When I talk about character on my channel a lot, I talk about LeBron James not being worthy enough to be compared to a lot of the other all-time greats. When you hear LeBron James speak, when you watch the way he carries himself, the way he interacts with his teammates, the coaches, the referees, the public, it all confirms these things. So in that regard, I think it helps. And the other way we talk about LeBron James and, the way that he does these things is like, I'm kind of forgetting what I was going to say, the other point that I was going to make with the two-way street here. But, LeBron James' personality and the way that he will lie all the time, and you're talking about people will accept it. Like, yeah, these are the fans that we talk about of LeBron James. That speaks more to them than it does to anything else. You're not holding yourself to any kind of standard, and you won't hold LeBron James to any kind of standard. So no matter what he does, you guys seem to be okay with that. Like I just mentioned before, no matter how much video footage the Czar puts out, right? People are still in denial. No matter how much research Jim does, you still have people in denial in his comment section. It's hilarious. But a lot of this, like I said, it confirms.
Well, and that's like Uncut's chat message here. The lies are mounting up daily. I can't even keep up anymore. I mean, I have felt that way for a long time. So Uncut, I'm curious, like, do you ever just feel like, okay, why am I still doing this? Doesn't matter. Like Robin, yes, you're right. He provides us with ammo, but if people don't want to believe, then they just don't have to anymore. And hey, Speem, we'll do another sound test with you.
I'm good.
If it doesn't work,
I'm fine. We're good.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Good. I'm good. Let's go. Keep going.
Oh, okay. I'm the asshole here.
Yeah. I just want to point out that Jim, thank you for being here. I like that you were allowed grace, sir, and your technical difficulties, and that didn't define your whole shit. But that's cool.
Speem, come on, man.
What?
There
you go. Would you want to go on a podcast and shit on Jim to make yourself look better?
Hey.
Okay, LeBron.
So, what's funny, real quick, is Jim, you brought up narrative. Definition of narrative: a spoken or written accounts of connected events. Wouldn't you say that one right there made me the greatest of all time? Would that not be considered a narrative, sir?
Oh, of course it's a narrative, but that's a self-serving narrative at that.
Right.
And, I think he likes to just put stuff out there, hoping people jump on it one way or the other, almost forcing you to pick a side or whatever. But he knows the media always has his back, period. What they've done to the media is like nothing I've ever seen. People like Paul Pierce, for example, he used to say, oh, LeBron's overrated, this, that. They put him on TV. All of a sudden, he's the GOAT. I'm like, what? That's not what you were saying just 6 months ago. What the hell is going on? So it's obvious the influence that's going on, but more than just the amount of people they're influencing, just NBA fans, is unbelievable. They take everything as gospel. If it comes out of these people's, it must be true because Shannon Sharp said it. What? They're clueless. These people are just clueless. When you say something to them that is the truth, it's so foreign to them, they think you're crazy. Happens all the time.
And how would you put that in check? I mean, I have an answer. If the media continues to report inaccurately or tell lies, then they should not have jobs. They should be removed from the Associated Press. But we left that a long time ago.
But we're becoming the new media, AOH. That's what we're becoming. Yeah, it might be a little bit here, a little bit there. We have small communities or small followings, and, it doesn't really seem that we're making any difference or making any noise. But we really are. Because if you really listen to a lot of these, analysts and the people on the mainstream media, if you really listen to them, you can tell they're listening to a lot of the things that the people out here in the social media world are saying. Maybe not our individual channels, but they're listening to the things that we're echoing from other bigger platforms, maybe. So I feel like a lot of people, like I said, if you're a true basketball fan, if you want the facts, I tell people all the time, it's not about you thinking Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time or not. But I tell people, if you're going to have an opinion, if your opinion is going to be worth anything, if it's going to be a valid opinion, it must be based in reality and off the facts. It has to be based off the factual information, because we can all come to different opinions off the same facts. We can all look at certain facts and be like, you know what, I see it this way. Maybe Jim can read some numbers off and I see those numbers a different way than what Jim is thinking maybe. And we can come to a different conclusion or maybe a different opinion off this, but we're coming off to a valid opinion. Our opinion is valid because we're looking at all the facts and coming to that opinion. These people have these narratives, and that's what they're basing their opinion off of. You can't have an opinion based off of narratives and lies, man. That's why when these guys come on with their podcasts, these ex-NBA players, these current guys, they're ridiculous. They contradict themselves. They sound like hypocrites. They have no integrity, no cachet, no credibility. I have more credibility than guys who played in the league because I'm remaining consistent. I've never once said I could beat LeBron James one-on-one. I could play in the NBA tomorrow, or I could have played in the NBA when I was younger. I've never made an asinine statement like that. I've always said I'm setting the record straight, and I'm putting in perspective historical from the guys that I grew up watching in the 80s and the 90s, man.
My bad. Go ahead. Ayosh, my bad.
Two responses. Someone in the chat said you guys are turning Jordan into a mythical creature. Actually, LeBron is doing that. We just enjoyed the fact that he was a great player, but the more we see these children, these embarrassing fools out on the floor, these divas, the more we appreciate what we used to have. It is these guys today that are turning Jordan into a mythical creature. He was hey, wow, that guy was great. Personally, I cheered against him. So
Michael Jordan turned himself into a mythical creature, man. If we really want to be honest, and you really want to state the facts, that I grew up in this era, man. I grew up through the 90s when Michael Jordan was at his peak. He made himself a myth, a legend, a folklore. When you research, the more you look into Michael Jordan's career, I'm telling you right now, the more you look into it, the more insane it becomes. That's not us making this stuff up. That's because what Michael Jordan actually did on the court is insane for him to do that. When you mention the players that did not win championships because of Michael Jordan, directly because of this man, that's insane. But the only way they can excuse it now is by saying the 90s was watered down, when we all know that the 90s era was literally stacked with talent up and down. When you look at the Dream Team 2, people forget about Dream Team 2 that came right after Dream Team 1 in 96. But the thing about that team, what that highlights, is the depth of talent, the greatness of the depth in the 90s. When even the second guys, the second so-called team, is still crazy, but no one talks about these guys.
By the way, Uncut left a nice comment on my Bigger, Stronger, Faster video. Dream Team 2, as you just mentioned, Robin. Shaq, Robinson, Elijah Wan.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, here was my part two. Robin, you said there are people like us out there, the new media, but you also have Gilbert Arenas and you also have FYF Sports people out there. Yep. And I had another question for the panel. We'll go around quickly because we got a lot to get through today. Was anyone surprised that, of course, Gilbert Arenas had the narrative that any father would do what LeBron did for his son, attacking the 60-year-old? Anyone would do this.
Fool.
Jim, let me go first.
Let me start real quick. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I already started talking, and it's my time. That's exactly what I'm talking about when you take something and you make excuses for it just because of the person that it is. Like, obviously, that's going to be the statement, right? Any father would do that for their kid. Yeah, no shit. That doesn't take away from it maybe being wrong in a vacuum or in any fucking facility for that matter, right? What's wrong is wrong. When you take a look at historically where people are drafted based on their statistics, you can come to a reasonable conclusion. Yeah, maybe Bronny shouldn't be there, but you can't say that because the response is, well, he was just looking out for his son. It's the whole straw man thing. I just wanted to get that out while I had my gusto going. Go ahead.
He looks out for his son when it's easy and there's no threat.
Yeah,
right. Right.
He's just a tool. That's all his son is. It's just when it's convenient, he'll use him as a tool and a prop. That's really all it is. But I did want to respond to Cameron Peterson here. He said, as a Wilt fan, I would love to see the narrative of Shaq as the most dominant player be debunked. Well, I didn't even know that was out there. I mean, yeah, Shaq was dominant in his era, but how could anybody be more dominant than Wilt Chamberlain as an individual player? I don't know what counter argument there is to that. You know, just the stats alone and the way he was doubled and triple teamed. I didn't even realize anybody thought otherwise, but maybe it's out there. But it's
Jim Shaq thinks that. Shaq going around talking about I'm the most dominant. See, that's the thing like I was just mentioning earlier with a lot of these players. And I love Shaquille O'Neal, man. I respect the hell out of Shaquille O'Neal's career, man. One of the all-time greats. But Shaq himself is always promoting himself as the most dominant player in NBA's history. And I always laugh at that stuff. And I've always said, listen, if Shaq wants to say that he was the most physically dominant player of all time, if he wants to call himself that, okay, we can have a debate with him and Will Chamberlain about the physical nature of the game and how Will Chamberlain was not allowed to play that level of physicality in his era. Physical dominance and overall dominance are two different things. And when you think about how many times Shaquille O'Neal's teams were swept in the postseason alone, that does not speak to dominance. If you're that dominant, you're going to at least get one win in these series. I mean, this man's getting swept like I don't even know how many times. Shaquille O'Neal's Orlando Magic, they were the first team to be swept in 3 consecutive seasons since like the 1950 Chicago Stags, man. So that does not speak to dominance when we talk about being dominant. But the Will Chamberlain, I always say this. The thing about Will Chamberlain he never gets credit for is that he was never allowed to use his physicality, his strength, the way that Shaquille O'Neal was allowed to use his. That's a very big difference, guys. A huge difference for anyone who doesn't know about those things, man.
It would be fun. It's fun to fantasize about it, but I get frustrated that I can't actually see Wilt go against Shaq.
Was doing statistically that Shaq can't sniff.
Delay.
Right. I'm sorry. Delay. I'm sorry.
Hold on. Let's.
Sorry. Hey, everybody, would everyone like to take a turn with a damp cloth wiping Speem's ass because he got butter this morning?
No. So Shaq, the biggest, one of the biggest chinks in his armor was being threatened by Dwight Howard, by having anything to say about Dwight Howard and his Superman shtick and all this other. Like, if Shaq was as dominant as I think he could have been as well, then Dwight Howard's not even showing up on your radar. And Dwight Howard, and like the fact that people have Anthony Davis ahead of him is blasphemy to begin with, right? So that shows you kind of where Shaq is, in addition to the consistent mention of the rings, right? The consistent going back and forth with Charles Barkley. It's Shaq's always kind of had a softness to him, which is crazy because, again, I was alive and well for that 2000, those three-peat Lakers. There was no stopping him, like, period.
When you've done something shady in your career, it creates this inner insecurity. Shaq is incredibly insecure, considering that he actually had a pretty good career. And I can't take away from his physicality. He is an incredibly agile, monstrous human being. But he definitely shows insecurity all the time. And it's part of what created this most dominant. You're not going to be called the best center ever. Let's call you the most dominant center ever. And we can't even prove that because Wilt wasn't allowed. Wilt, who benched 500 pounds, by the way, wasn't allowed to use his physicality back then. So we're back to the what if thing. And I think none of us want to waste too much time talking about what ifs that we can't prove.
You can't prove dominance anyways. That's why it's such an easy thing to say. That's the times we live in. You can say a statement like that because there's no way to quantify it.
You know what the funny thing is, guys, and we can move on. I know we're kind of going off the rails with some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But we're educating, man.
That was my fault. Here. My fault.
But, one of the things that I remember when I first started to watch, old footage of Will Chamberlain, and when I was, hearing about him always scoring a lot of points and all this stuff, is you thought that Will Chamberlain was just dunking the ball all over the place. It was nothing but dunks, dunks, and dunks. But what I watched and what I noticed, the first thing I realized, this man shooting turnaround fadeaway jump shots at 7 feet tall. Why is this man shooting turnaround fadeaways? I'm like, why are you fading away at that size? And you would think, why? Well, once again, if you find out and you research these things, this is what we're talking about. Because he can't lower his shoulder and just bang guys down low. If you look at how guys were called for offensive fouls back in the 50s and the 60s, it's actually laughable, man. Laughable what they got called for offensive fouls for back in them days. And that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. No, it's true. I'll add one little nugget here and just say that back in, like what Rob's saying is, back in those days, if you moved your man 1 inch, you're getting called for an offensive foul. Yes. Shaq would have been way less effective if they called it by the letter of the law. And all these narratives about how players are so much better today, I think started around the Allen Iverson and Shaquille O'Neal time, because these guys were suddenly, you can knock Vlade Divac off the block, don't get called for a foul. Iverson can carry, all this stuff. And it's led to where we are today because the rules were bent and just broken altogether. together. You know more about it than anybody, AOH. You know how that's where it started, though. If Shaq was in any other really 80s, 90s, yeah, he was good on Orlando. He was great, very athletic, nimble on his feet, but he relied too much on just knocking people out of the way and dunking on them. I mean, if you want to call that skill and dominant, you can. But to me, it all changed right around that time. The refs started getting more lax because I think Jordan, now retired, they needed to fill that void because they were losing like 50% of their revenue.
I want to acknowledge.
I will say Shaq did take time out of his career to actually work on a drop step, work on footwork, work on some kind of offensive game, which is more. Who does that now, if anybody, right? Maybe Giannis. You saw him at least put some muscle on and try to shoot a little bit here and there. But Shaq took time to add a little bit of ballet to his game, which is a very lost art form now.
You have a valid point. I just laughed because we're to the point we praise people whose job it is to play basketball well for working on their game.
I didn't even think about it like that. That's how bad it is, yeah.
I mean, listen, I like that Shaq was allowed to play like Shaq. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have been allowed to do those things. I love that. That's great, man. That was great time in the NBA. You know, when you mentioned, Jim, about Shaq or Orlando, Shaq was a fantastic athlete in Orlando. To me, that was Shaq's best two-way ability. His rebounding, his shot blocking ability, and his scoring prowess. To me, those years in Orlando, he was phenomenal up and down the court running and being able to do that more consistently, you know, throughout an NBA season and not being too much out of shape. But, you know, when we talk about, you know, what was he really doing in the 90s, though? He wasn't really doing as much because why? That was actually when there were other dominant big men also in the league. So even though Shaq was a great physical force coming in, he wasn't dominating Hakeem Olajuwon or Patrick Ewing or David Robinson, some of the other guys that were established veterans that were in the league there. He had to work his way through the ranks.
Speaking of Orlando, because I keep forgetting to do a post on this, but when it came out that Miami almost traded LeBron for Dwight, then it could have actually come true for Miami to get not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven. Get rid of LeBron James, and Miami might have 6 or 7 rings. Let me acknowledge Praise the Dawn really quick, and we got to keep moving, gentlemen. Praise the Dawn with the super chat. Thank you, sir. LeBron fans are the worst. Look at how much they come to his rescue. Bunch of drones who listen to ESPN as if their word is the gospel. And I had a subcategory to talk about today. It's LeBron is out there capping for himself on these talk shows, but you also have the media capping for him to where here's what LeBron meant to say. When LeBron has a terrible, terrible, terrible quote, all of a sudden you have the media out there say, well, this is what he was saying. They're not the words that came out of his mouth, but we're going to tell you what he was actually saying.
AOH, I was listening in on, I think it was Man Down Sports. It was either that or Sports Tea the other day. And they were talking about the whole, and I'm assuming we're going to get to the whole Kobe Memorial thing and how, you know, when they were asking him about if he was there and how he was speaking around it and being very intentional with his words, that's kind of where things are now, right? In the sense that he knows what he's doing and he knows who to address and when to address them. It's a very safe position. I didn't know about that potential Dwight Howard trade. That's kind of crazy to even think about.
It got shockingly little press.
Interesting that him on the trading block didn't get too much press. That's weird how that would happen that way, but it's. These last couple of seasons, I've been thinking about it. You have Magic Johnson, right? Literally, Mr. Lakers uproot himself from this franchise in an organizational capacity because of this circus that LeBron brings to it. That's Mr. Laker. At what point do you understand that this is a damaging individual, a damaging person to be around when he's literally having people jump ship from people that have been there or at least associated with their entire career? Like, you know how wild that is? That's like Michael Jordan not being associated with the Bulls because of somebody going to the Bulls. You would never hear of it happen.
Siberius with the super chat. Thank you. I appreciate all of your guys' channels. Thank you for all you do. Also, what is Speam Engine's channel? It is at Speam Engine. Do not spell it with a T.
It's okay if I'm not like ironclad about it. Find my shit and follow it, please.
Yo, shout out to Praise to Don for coming through. Shout out to Siberius for coming through with the super chats, man. Thank you very much, guys, for all the support. It means a lot for real,
Yeah,
man. You know,
very much
it's
so.
crazy, man, for real. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey,
to the other. Go ahead, Jim. My bad. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that Uncut Hoops said that there was no Dwight Howard trade, that it was just Gilbert Arenas spewing lies. That's what he says, and I tend to believe him.
I
We're
always
using Gilbert Arenas.
complaint that when Kendrick Perkins complains about the MVP race and how everybody gives him so much credit for walking it back. Is that not irresponsible journalism? If you're costing, because you can directly relate that to Nikola Jokic not getting an MVP, right? Is that not irresponsible journalism at that juncture? Him costing him an MVP, probably costing him money contractually that we're not aware of. How is that not, maybe not necessarily a fireable offense, even though it maybe should be? How, I don't, did he himself didn't even retract that, right? I feel like they came out and said something about it and then never brought it up again.
But see, this is what I'm talking about, Speem. And Jim, you just made my point that I was talking about earlier, man. When you just said, I tend to take Uncut Hoop's word more than someone like Gilbert Arenas. Thank you very much. Because why would you listen to Gilbert Arenas? Because he's proven over time to not be credible through the things that he's lied about and the nonsense that he said. So we've just talked about this. We have become the new media. I would listen to Uncut Hoops way before I would listen to someone like Kendrick Perkins or, once again, Nick Wright, Shannon Sharp, the people that are actually being paid millions of dollars to actually educate us. Listen, the burden is on them. That burden of integrity, it's on them, man. You have to deny the money. You have to turn it down. You have to actually keep yourself that way. If you got to be broke, then you got to be broke to keep the word, to keep the education, to keep the facts, to once again keep the game going forward. You're not pushing the game forward by keep trying to tell us that these guys are so much greater than the guys before because those guys were plumbers and taxi cab drivers. What service was J.J. Redick doing? Why did Bob Cousy have to come out and say the man's 90 years old? He shouldn't have to say anything. I thought Bob Cousy was dead. He came out and spoke up on behalf of the players that he played with and against. And he said, hold on a second here. Who the hell are you to talk about us that way? You don't know what the hell we did. I keep telling people, he won't tell you about someone like Paul Arizin, who spent 2 years fighting in the Korean War with the Marines, who's a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah.
He won't tell you about Paul Arizin. He'll just tell you, oh, those guys were driving taxis. Oh, those guys were doing nothing. No, those guys were legit grown men, damn it.
Hey, about Paul Arizin, one little piece of information. Paul Arizin, as far as I know, is the only small forward ever to lead the league in field goal percentage. There you go.
Wow.
It's always a center. Always. Paul Arizin led the league in field goal percentage. Look it up.
That's not easy to achieve. That's
led a team to a championship, Paul Arizin.
Yeah, he would have got a Finals MVP in '56 on the Warriors, no question. But
That's
these
right.
guys,
they don't even know. They will never tell you about that guy. So when you hear these people speak on ESPN or Fox Sports, they'll never tell. They won't correct J.J. Redick and say, hold up, let's talk about this guy. Let's talk about that guy. Elgin Baylor spent time in the Army throughout his career. So he sacrificed playing games in the NBA, taken away from his overall statistics because he was in the Army. They won't tell you that about Elgin Baylor, though. No, they won't.
Even David Robinson.
I'm going to let you go. Wait, I'll forget if I don't.
Jim.
I'll forget if I don't say this. Speaking of Bob Cousy, Celtic City is actually really good. I watched four parts of it. That's pretty interesting. And Uncut Hoops, I have done a video in which I said, I mean, I was giving him a compliment, but I said, isn't it sad that us YouTubers do more research? Because one of the great things about Uncut is that he has the script, but he goes and he looks everything up. Yeah. And he has the video proof. And, you know, you can expect more from YouTubers like that than from these talking head drama queens that they put on television and just feed you whatever you LeBron fans want to hear. It's very unfortunate. And Uncut, maybe you can put in the chats, because you've done several episodes that I feel like are worth reacting to or breaking down. And I had this idea. What if we went through an uncut video on here and talked about it? Let me know how you feel about that. Guys, we got to get
great.
It would be.
It's Steam Engine's turn to talk, and then we're going to talk about the accolade stupidity.
Yeah, Jim's ready for that.
I mean, so the one thought I had, I actually found this out from being in Man Down Sports room the other day. I didn't know that Kendrick Perkins was feeding information to Stephen A. Smith before he got that ESPN contract, in terms of like OKC Thunder information and like, dirt on, Kevin Durant and that whole squad. And it just makes me think the transactional nature of journalism, right? But if you are using Ballsack Sports as one of your sources and you're saying it's this anonymous sports, this is what Stephen A. did. How do you have credibility? Again, I'm coming out of nowhere with this, but it came across my mind. How do you have credibility as a journalist if those are your sources, A? And B, I think it's very intentional that Stephen A. Smith is the mouthpiece for the anti-LeBron movement, because so few people take him seriously because he is such a caricature of what a journalist is supposed to be. There's a reason Kwame Brown isn't getting on the air in a public setting, because he's not controlled. He'll say what he wants. You may not agree with it, but it's not going to go against, it's going to go against what everybody else is saying. Stephen A. Smith is playing a very WWE, WWF type game. It's keeping him relevant. It is allowing him to hold leverage over ESPN, and it's blurring the lines between entertainment and fact. Not that different from where reality is as a whole. This is actually just kind of a microcosm of the entire thing. Just Stephen A. is just like this pathetic individual that is, ever since he's been doing the whole anti-cowboy thing, it's been less and less about the fact and more about the me.
It's pretty sad that Stephen A. Smith represents the closest thing to a LeBron critic that we currently have.
Yeah. He has the biggest, but that's my point, is he's the safest LeBron critic, because all he's going to do is go up there and talk about what he would have done. And AOH, you dropped the video about this when LeBron went and got one of the Morris twins to go back him up. I saw the other angle of that. He went out of his way to go grab a twin. And it was like one of those, come here with me real quick. And stand behind Stephen A. Stand behind me. I said, how can you give LeBron credit for anything when he had to go get a whole, not even another regular basketball player, basically a 7-footer, right? Basically a forward, not some guard, not Chris Paul, not some little guy. A Morris twin to go back you up against Stephen A. Smith, who everybody on planet Earth has seen hit a punching bag and knows that he poses no threat to anybody. So how tough are you? It's so easy to call out, but all you'll hear is, well, LeBron was standing on business. He was defending his son, blah, blah, blah. But where's that same energy for everybody else that says his son had a heart attack as a result of Labalco, or his son shouldn't be in the league? It's really easy to pick on Stephen A. Smith in a public setting like that when what's he going to hit you? Is he going to put his career on the line and hit you publicly? What's the risk there?
Yeah.
All right, so I think we talked about that in the past. Let's move on to the accolades. Robin, you ready?
I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
What was it? Look, I did listen to most of your video, but the stupidity.
Let me give an overview and let Jim finish it up.
Yeah, I will. But here's my opening. 32 categories?
32.
That's all I needed to hear. How the fuck are we talking about 32 categories? Did somebody win and the other person not win? I'm done. Thank you. That's the category that mattered. But if we were to do the opposite of what that article did, one of the categories would have been, how many rings did LeBron get as a Bull?
Oh, right.
Oh, well, that's not fair.
Can you repeat that?
Well, here's what happened. Some publication, was it Fadeaway World? Or worse?
Yeah, so it was an article from Fadeaway World that I saw that was, like I said, that was sent to me. That was, I guess, was on MSN.
And basically, they did things as ridiculous as including, LeBron has an NBA Cup, an in-season tournament chip, and Jordan doesn't, and things like that.
Right.
Oh my God.
So so they pretty much rigged the categories in favor, to favor LeBron James ultimately. That's what they seem to do. And then somehow they included the total points in the regular season, the total rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, total player points, steals, rebounds, assists, blocks. Those were all individual categories. Those were all a point for LeBron James over Michael Jordan. And they had, like you said, the cup title and a cup MVP in favor for LeBron James. And somehow they added LeBron James' assist title, but mysteriously did not include Michael Jordan's 3 steals titles on this list. They just omitted altogether. And what I found, which was really weird to me, is how you count all of Michael Jordan's scoring titles to one of LeBron James amounted to 1 point for Michael Jordan over LeBron James. I don't understand. If each scoring title is in each individual season, that's an honor that Michael Jordan earned each individual season. So how could I said if I was going to do something like that, at least I would have negated one of Michael Jordan's scoring titles for one of LeBron James scoring titles, and I would have said Michael Jordan gets 9 points for that. But he got 1 point for having 10 scoring titles to LeBron James 1. Insane.
Yep.
Missed shots.
Jim, you're a researcher. What do you think Jordan's most impressive accomplishment is? Is it the 6 titles or is it something else?
Well, look, longevity is one piece of the puzzle, always has been. I don't know where all this stuff's coming from all of a sudden, obviously, because it makes LeBron look good in a good light. But it's got to be totality. It can't be just accolades. It can't be just championships. It can't be just longevity. It's got to be all of it. But the things that sets Michael Jordan apart, besides just the accolades themselves, like never losing when he had home court advantage. He only lost 1 series ever in which he led at any point, even 1-0, 1 series in his whole career in which he led. These are things that aren't necessarily accolades. But I think one of the ones that is got to stand out would be how many players in NBA history have won the scoring title and first team all defense in the same year? Just those 2 things. It's been done 12 times ever in the history of the sport. Kobe Bryant's got 2 of them. Jerry West has 1, and Michael Jordan has the other 9. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of a big deal because that shows both sides of the ball. You're the scoring champion and you're the best guard defensively. That's been done. Like I said, he's got 9 of the 12 just right there in that one thing. And you can go on and on about like defensive player and MVP. That's only Giannis, Jordan, and Olajuwon. Defensive player of the year and the scoring title with the MVP. That's only Michael Jordan. And the scoring title, MVP, first team all defense, that's only Jordan, done 5 times, only by Michael Jordan. LeBron does not have anything like that. Not a single thing that is unlike any other player. He's got nothing. And all the stuff that he did, even with the first team defense, Jordan has more of them. Like MVP, first team all defense. He's got 4. Jordan's got 5. I mean, again, and all LeBrons are in this tight little window. People just don't realize how much of it is between 2009 and 2013. That's like point. 80% of his accolades in his career. Anything before or after, it's just he's got 1 assist title, 1 scoring title, and 2 championships and 2 finals MVPs in like a 15, 16 years of his career. That's it. That's all he's got over that whole period. No first team all defense, not even second teams. So he hasn't won an MVP or been all defense in 10 years. Now that right there, all this longevity business, yeah, for one side of the ball, collecting stats, it's very unimpressive in my mind.
Well, the fact that LeBron is regularly now coming in 3rd or 4th as a leading scorer on his own team gives us a new way to look at how meaningless these longevity stats are.
Right.
Let me come in and play 3 minutes a game until I'm 90 and my numbers are going to start to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's another one. MVP and scoring title. Those 2 things together in the same year. It's been done 17 times in NBA history. Jordan has the most by far with 5. Kareem and Wilt have done it twice each. That's the second most. I'm just saying, like, I could do this all day. Finals MVP, and first team all defense. Jordan did it 4 times. LeBron did it twice. I mean, he doubles them up. I mean, it's insane. And people want to talk about accolades like you're barking up the wrong tree. And but not only accolades.
The issue is that like right now, we all know and agree that you are 100% correct. But 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, it's not going to be viewed the same. 20 years from now, they could be saying the NBA Cup was the peak accomplishment of the NBA. And it's not going to be, who's going to argue that, because everyone's going to be that much dumber by then.
And Robin, you brought this up.
And that may be true.
Good for you in your video, because I've said it before that as time goes on, the fact that LeBron was a third team all NBA player,
come on, man,
is going to be forgotten. You know, he wasn't a first team all NBA selection. He was a third team all NBA. Can you not hear us,
guys? I can't see nothing.
I can hear you.
We can hear you, Robin.
You just can't hear us. Okay.
Huh. Hey, Robin, why leave and come back? Well, he can't hear me, so I'll private chat him. Hey, let's hey, Spam, you want to read? Can you read Praise the Dawn's new super chat?
These dudes are plants one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Shout out to Praise the Dawn. These dudes are plants. Where did Hatchet Nose Nick Wright come from? Who's he to even speak on basketball? MJ and Kobe never had media puppets. I'll never forget the first time I saw Nick Wright on TV. The question was posed, what would it take for LeBron to bypass Michael Jordan? And he had this little, what he thought was clever soliloquy about getting in a time machine and going back to X date and doing X, Y, and Z. And it was obvious from then why he was there. And he's been largely unlikable since that day. Shout out. That's a great point. Most of these talking heads are so direct in what they're serving that there's not even, I mean, you know, I bring up Inside the NBA all the time. Chuck is the closest person that you'll get is somebody that's anti-LeBron. Everybody else is either Ernie, who is just happy to be there because he had a cancer scare a while ago, or Shaq, who can't really put sentences together. And then you got the Jet, who is compromised as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So no, yeah.
I mean, yeah, and Rick Bucher is about the only guy left. I don't know how that guy's still on TV, but you know, he said right in front of Nick Wright, I'll never forget, he said, I don't know why you guys talk about this GOAT stuff. He said it's Michael Jordan 1, Bill Russell 2, Kareem number 3, and you put anybody you want after that. And he said personally he had Kobe 4th. But I'm just saying the point is, like, he's not even considering LeBron as even in the conversation, which he shouldn't be. He's the only guy here talking like this. Everybody else bows down to the king. Every single one of these clowns.
Wouldn't you want to have a Rick Bucher, a subject matter expert, before Kenny Perkins? Kenny Perkins he's an idiot. He's a clown. I mean, he doesn't know anything. This guy said LeBron James should be the MVP of this season. You know, they're going to win 70 games. Like, he doesn't know anything about basketball. Any one of us would go in there and destroy this fool. I mean, why is he on there? The Lakers head coach is the same man that said that the Lakers should hang up their season and celebrate LeBron's winning the scoring title.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a professional saying, oh, by the way, you guys should just phone this whole season in and celebrate this one man. He's the coach of your team now. That's your leader. So, I mean, that's the bar.
Coco Hulk with the super chat. There should be a La Media checklist for YouTube and TV so we all know who's legit with their takes. Much love, panel. I mean, look at House of Highlights. Yep. House of Highlights is blown up, but they just flat out lied about LeBron took an elbow and was injured. There was absolutely zero elbow contact whatsoever in that flop. Zero.
He made it out alive.
Zero. You understand? You fucking lied.
That's what I'm saying. And then how does your platform or your page supposed to look when you're putting these kinds of things on your platform? Like I said, come on, man.
You got to know your audience, and LeBron fans don't care what the truth is. Feed them what they want to hear. Feed them what they want to hear. Robin, while you were having technical difficulties, I was pointing out the good point about the LeBron's all NBA selections, even though they were third team, and they leave that out. And I said years ago with the All-Star selections, okay, the All-Star game is so bad that it's not even honorable to be selected to it anymore. Not to mention the fact that it's fan voting. These aren't real accolades.
This year, he didn't even play. He came out in street clothes like a clown. So what are we really talking about? Listen, I remember Yao Ming got selected to the All-Star game when he didn't play a single game in the regular season, Yao Ming. And that's no knock on Yao Ming. He was a very popular player. He was getting a lot of the Chinese vote, man. So he had all these votes. I remember that stuff, man. I remember Magic Johnson being voted into the All-Star game in '92 when he didn't play a single game. And we all respected that because it was, once again, that actually added to the All-Star game when Magic Johnson came back. But LeBron James and some of his fans, once again, he didn't have enough decency to even show up there and play the game for you guys, man. So, these are the kinds of things, that we're talking about, with some of these players and, how the game's going on.
But Robin, not even that. We were around. We watched basketball at a time when the league told you a player was popular. You saw it in the streets. You saw it on the court. You saw the sneakers they had on. You saw the jerseys. I'm gonna bring this up every week as a sneakerhead as long as I can. You do not see LeBrons on people's feet unless it's a member of the James family or somebody on the Lakers or JJ Redick or maybe Kendrick Perkins, somebody aligned with LeBron, right? When I said I was a T-Mac fan, I had that man's sneaks. I had his jersey. That's both Orlando and Houston. I had a Yao Ming jersey. You brought up him. That's what made me think of that. Jordans are on the feet, and I don't even have to limit that to him. People rock Stephon Marbury's. His shoes were $25 here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, made in the same factories as all the other poor little Indonesian kids that are forced to make the right? But you would rock Stephon Marbury's, as ugly as they were, because you were a fan of his. I don't care how many people tell me that LeBron is this highly touted, universally loved player. I do not see it when I go outside. And I work with kids ages 6 through all the way up through high school. And I do not see it. So, and I venture to guess there are very few people that even in this chat, in this, like watching this now, that can say, oh yeah, I see LeBron fans out there.
Let me shout out a couple of super chats. Tynex 209 with the $5 euro. I shouldn't call it dollars then, should I? I'm showing your video, AOH, to fanboys how Morris had LeBron's back for Stephen A. And they just won't admit it. And thank you, Sports and Fitness, for educating me. Thank you, Tynex, for the super chat. Hey, we're trying, man.
Thank you very much.
Seriously. We're trying. We're getting buried. I can't.
You know what's interesting about that accolades article? Like I mentioned in my video, the title of the article mentioned accolades, awards, and stats in parentheses. And it said who comes out on top over 32 categories. But at the end of those 32 categories, LeBron James won 20-12, by the way, for anyone who didn't know. But at the end of the article, he said that LeBron James is the longevity GOAT based off of having more accolades. He didn't put stats, awards, he said accolades. And we all know that's not true. When you talk about the total number of stats for LeBron James, the points, the rebounds, the assists that he's accumulated throughout his career, what we want to know at the end of that, what was the result of all of that? In the totality of all those stats you put up, the total numbers, what was the total result? The total result was 4-6 in the finals, guys. That's what the total result was for a lot of that. If you think about the regular season, did LeBron James teams have some crazy win totals? Did they go over 70 games? No, they never did. LeBron James teams. They never were the greatest team of all time as far as wins goes. So when you talk about what did you get after all of those stats, Michael Jordan didn't need all of those stats because he sacrificed the total numbers to win, to raise his teammates up. That's what he did. The results were greater.
Jolly Joshams says Jordan shaved, LeBron got plugs. Point LeBron. It's funny. I spared you guys, but the TNT OT app did a lot of zoom ins on LeBron in the Warriors game, and I have all the footage, but it's hard to look at. I mean, LeBron James, with all of the help, all the makeup, the beard dye, the science project on his head, is still hideous. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if you made him go out there looking natural and comparing him to Michael Jordan?
You never see that man walking in the rain because his hair is just going to bleed down onto his forehead. That's the sad truth of it.
I'm sorry. You know what it is? You know what's funny to me is like I talk on my channel a lot about health and fitness, and sometimes I talk about people not feeling a certain level of self-confidence and the way that they look. So I often talk about how when I go to the beach, I start to notice more and more over the years that people will wear shirts in the water. They'll wear t-shirts. Grown men, they'll be in the ocean with the t-shirts on. And what I've said is that if you don't feel comfortable and that's why you want to wear the shirt in the ocean, I get all of that. But really all that's doing is bringing more attention to yourself. So when you think about someone like LeBron James, because let's be real, doesn't no grown man give a damn about what no other grown man looks like on the damn beach, man? Don't no one care what you look like. If you have a problem with what you look like, that's on you. But don't wear the t-shirt because now I'm looking at you. Now I'm like, damn, why is this dude wearing a t-shirt in the ocean? That's kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
Your way you look is not weird to me. But when we talk about LeBron James, why are you wearing do-rags and brushing your hair when you're doing interviews? Now you're bringing attention to this. Now I'm questioning you like, damn, dude, what are we doing here? There's no reason for you to be wearing do-rags at 40 years old and no reason for you to be brushing things that don't need to be brushed. Why are you doing movies and, CGIing your hair in Space Jam and some of these other movies? There's no reason to do that. Michael Jordan didn't CGI an afro on his head or give himself a Chris lineup during these movies. He just played the role of Michael Jordan.
Can fashion explain away wearing a do-rag, or is it supposed to be specifically about your hair? I'm trying to figure out how absurd it is when he wears that shit.
No, it's stupid. And you know what? As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to start brushing my hair and wearing a do-rag because it would look equally as ridiculous. There are very few bald men in the NBA, and how often do you see do-rags ever? It's not a professional look, right? Like I'm not going down that whole road of professionalism and dress and all that, but it looks even crazier when you take a do-rag off and you have that whole kind of like burnt cookie situation in the middle of your head. You come home like Shaq and Chuck used to say. But did you notice they stopped making those jokes? They used to say all the time, like, LeBron, just come home, just shave your head. They stopped making those jokes about 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Right around when you started to see the paint drip, for lack of a better term, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's sensitive about it. It's no different than why his platform is called The Shop. It's called The Shop because he has an a sensitivity about his hair. So they're going to sit there and watch him get an imaginary haircut over the course of an imaginary conversation. It's weird actually, where we are. And he's not the CGI hair thing. Jim, I know you were laughing at that. That's true.
Is it really? I never saw the Space Jam 2. I just couldn't stomach it. But
not only is it true, but
I ain't watching that.
There was a sneaker release 2 weeks after that Nike actually had CGI'd had the sneaker CGI'd into the production because the shoe wasn't ready by then. So in other words, the sneakers that you see on in the movie aren't even what he has on in real life. Like, wow. If that doesn't scream, I'm for sale, this is not what I'm about. The sneaker, like what I have on, it doesn't even exist. It's imaginary. It's a computer generated image.
Speam, how about the fact that he's putting that do-rag on in the locker room? Like, he doesn't have clothing on. Like, this isn't like he's going to a fashion event or a party, but he's still worried enough. He's so narcissistic that he's like, oh, before the reporters get here, let me make sure and put this fucking do-rag on that has nothing to do with anything. I won't have a shirt on. I look like I'm about to take a shower, but let me put this do-rag on.
You know what's funny about LeBron James and the Space Jam thing, guys, is if we contrast it to Michael Jordan. If you guys remember, during the making of that movie, there was a lot of reports, and if you talk to a lot of these guys that were involved in the games that were being played, remember they set up a whole training facility for Michael Jordan during the making of that movie. And if you talk to guys like Reggie Miller that were there during those games, they talk about those being some of the most competitive games that they played in and stuff. What did you guys remember hearing from LeBron James during the making of that film? I heard stories of LeBron James basically being outshot by female workers that worked the set of Space Jam. They supposedly beat woman beat LeBron James in like a 3-point shooting contest during the making of that movie. So these are the kinds of stories that we hear from LeBron James side of things that people forget about. But the true basketball fans, the people that, once again, we remember these things.
All right, we're in the weeds. Let me acknowledge some of these super chats.
It's been a great show.
But the problem is this is the weeds because nobody talks about it because
it's been a great show. It has.
The total 180 is
we are in the weeds though
on TV all the time. It's the weeds, but that's what it is.
I know, but I'm sure some people want to talk about some of the Jesse Glad Saget. Thank you for being a longtime supporter. MJ has 6 of the top 20 spots in the highest points per game differential between finals MVP and their second leading scorer. LeBron has 0.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm guessing that wasn't in the article, Robin.
No, that's not longevity. I keep telling people like I said, at the end, the conclusion was LeBron James is a longevity GOAT. That's what the guy said. That was his last sentence. That was the conclusion. That's insane when the man never won an MVP in his 30s. Never won an MVP in his 30s. Where's your longevity? You never even made an all-defensive team in your 30s? Man, come on. It's Karl Malone won multiple MVPs after his 30s.
You know, speaking of not doing that in his 30s, it was the NBA on ESPN again that had this guys that scored big numbers on 2 teams. They had Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James' second highest accumulation of points has been with the Lakers. People, do you think that this is one of LeBron's best runs in the NBA?
No.
Is this not more evidence that points don't mean a goddamn thing anymore? How many times do I have to make of straight line layups, uncontested alley-oop dunks? LeBron James sitting out 3 out of 4 plays in a row where he just watches his team and then decides, hey, I'm ready to go in for a dunk. Anyway, the lowly one, this is for you sports and fitness rants. The lowly one says, we're talking about longevity. Then why are people still talking about Michael Jordan's 15 season run 20 plus years later?
Yeah.
Word, exactly. Yo, shout out to the lowly one, always coming through, always supporting our lives. And those are the facts that we're talking about. That's true longevity. I mean, on and off the court, Michael Jordan, there have been a lot of great players that had true longevity, man. You know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You know, when I think about longevity, I'm not thinking about how many years in total you played, how many games in total you played. I'm thinking about the quality of years you played. How great were you really consistently, and how many years did you do this? That's what I'm thinking about. And when you think about some of these players, there are a lot of players that were great from day one to when they went out of the league. To me, Tim Duncan's longevity dwarfs LeBron James' longevity by far, and that's one of his contemporaries.
Hey, Jim, how many years was Michael Jordan the 3rd highest scorer on his own team?
That would be, let me think, 0.
How about second?
Actually, his last year on the Wizards, Jerry Stackhouse was leading
fucking
scorer.
Wizards.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I was just going to say one thing. You combine accolades and longevity together, okay?
But he led the Wizards in total points that year.
He did. Michael Jordan has the longest stretch between somebody's first time they made a first-team all-defense and the last time, that's 1988 to 1998. He tied, I think it was Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan. Okay. How about scoring title? He won his first one in 1987 and his last one in 98. No one has ever been 11 years apart between scoring titles. The closest was Allen Iverson and Wilt Chamberlain, only 6 years apart. And then MVP, Kareem, 1971 to 80, 9 years apart. Jordan, 88 to 98. 10 years apart. So he has the longevity of the highest level MVP, scoring champion, first team all defense. No one has that kind of longevity, a decade's worth of it.
Robin,
no one in NBA history.
Suspended. Robin, don't. You saw what happened to John Morant. Put the gun down. So, Jim, the reason that's such a fantastic stat is because it's the first I've heard it, first of all. Second of all, you're going to get more press about LeBron James's 10-point streak.
Yeah.
Which is, who cares,
it's
right?
Fake.
Than what you just said. What you just said is almost a career's worth far more impressive than some 10-point streak of stuff that doesn't matter, right? Where he'll literally get to 10 points and then leave the game, and you won't. There'll be people that'll defend that, right? But that will get more press. That will be on ESPN well before anything you just mentioned. And
I've got a category. How many games played in which you looked like a man while you were playing? I'll give LeBron 0.
Yeah.
0.
He said,
Hey, shout out to Leo Zakari. Even LeBron's longevity is fake, he says. In 22 seasons, he played all 82 games only once. Jordan played 80 games 11 times and played all 82 9 times. Let me add to that, Leo. Michael Jordan broke his foot one of the times that he didn't do it and had a season-ending knee injury with the
Wizards. The
Wizards another time, and came back from retirement in another one.
Yeah. No, it's true. People don't realize that Jordan wasn't even eligible in 86 or 95 to win anything. You know, he's also another thing in 1995. He's the only player to play less than 20 games and be top 12 on the MVP ballot. Nobody's ever did that before either. So that was impressive. Or after the age of 38, the only player to be in the top 12 on the MVP ballot is Michael Jordan, believe it or not. LeBron has not been on an MVP ballot the last 2 years. Not on the ballot at all.
Yo, Jim, man, you are killing it right now as far as, once again, highlighting what we were talking about with longevity. What it really means to be great and play at a high level for a consecutive amount of years and be consistent with those things. When you talk about the MVPs and, you know, when he won them in his first and last times and, you know, his consistency on both sides of the ball, the all defensive teams. And you can argue Michael Jordan should have made him all defensive team the year before when he did not make the first or second all defensive team. If you really watch some of those games,
he should have.
You look at the numbers that he was putting up, they were sensational. So, you know, Michael Jordan has true longevity. And the reason why Michael Jordan had true longevity and a lot of those other great players, one, they gave effort. Effort's going to keep you in going. It's going to keep you in the game, right? You're giving the effort.
Yes.
That's half the battle. But also, like we talked about earlier, a lot of these guys, they worked on their games, like you mentioned, A-Ways. Not because, you know, we told them they had to, or they heard the fans making fun of them for not doing that, because that was their job. And they loved the game. So they want you to be as great as they were competitors. So these guys worked on their overall games, which keep you going for as long as you can at a certain level, man. So that's why, you know, we respect a lot of those guys, man, as opposed to what the guys are doing today.
Jay Pitt with a super chat. Thank you, Jay. Lack of professionalism is why NBA is declining. No suits for coaches or players. Zesty street attire. Colored mismatched shoes. Looks more like YMCA. Hey, I mean, credit. Even the YMCA didn't look like that.
That's giving credit. Yeah, I was gonna say it's ever since they made best dressed part of the awards. I forget which All-Star weekend it was. Once that became a thing, it was kind of all over. I was cool with Russell Westbrook kind of dressing like a crazy nun for a while because he was balling out on the court. But seeing James Harden like really embrace this whole fashion lifestyle, but then not do it on the court as like he used to, right? Or just seeing Tyrese Halliburton dressed like a panda or something. It's weirdly making this shift, not even just the fashion, but, and I don't like to use the word zesty because I know like a lot of what that implies, but it's certainly not what I would call professional. And that's like bare minimum. You guys got, you know, it looks like a furry convention, and that's no disrespect to furries because they're doing it because they want to. These guys are doing it for the attention. It's worse even.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about what you just said, real quick, is that to me, what bothers me a lot of times is that these guys seem as if they give more effort and care more about what they're wearing to games than the actual game plan, the actual game.
I mean, look at LeBron. Instead of preparing for the next game, he's going on podcasts to shit on teams of the past. I mean, he did it again. How many times is he going to go on a podcast and shit on people? I mean, isn't that by itself enough to take you out of the GOAT conversation? You don't do that. Even if your teammates were terrible, this is just not how you're supposed to behave. He's doing it at 40.
Shout out to Sports T because I saw her in here. I was in her live stream yesterday or the day before. I couldn't figure out the terminology, but LeBron was flat out. He was code switching in that interview on the McAfee show. I thought it was kind of weird how he was speaking. It was very off kilter, like very awkward. And then I was, oh, there are other people that notice that's not how human beings speak, right? I called out to the point that he used words tighty whitey or a Taylor Swift type tour. And I, what's a Taylor Swift tour? How is that any different from any other tour? Who says tighty whitey instead of underwear, boxers, drawers, whatever, what have you? These are, it's the most illegitimate form of communication because it's rehearsed and none of it's real. And he wouldn't dare do that in any other forum where he doesn't have complete control, which takes away not only from his character, but just him as a professional. It just goes to show that he will only be in a position that he can control. And how do you get great from that? How do you even learn from that if everything's being handed to you from the gate?
Yeah, I see Sports T in the chat. We'll get to her chat in a minute. I invited her onto the show, but she had an appointment. Sports T. If you want to know who I go to, I know you're in the Bay Area, Sports T. I can hook you up there really fast. Gemini Girl says, hang in there, guys. The tide will turn and the truth will be the truth again, like we all know it to be. AOH, you giving the Bob Ross vibes. There you go. Somebody got it.
Shout out to Gemini Girl.
I don't share your enthusiasm, but I'm glad that there are people out there that are enthusiastic.
Gemini Girl.
I think truth is losing importance more and more across all facets.
Yeah, big time.
Going through another, let's see. And
of course, he said
I'll just read Sports T since we were talking about her. Happy Sunday, fellas. Speam engine is so right. LeBron doesn't have the cachet on or off the court. I wear his kicks to play in because they go on sale. Oh, you can't. I don't give a shit how cheap they are. You don't.
Well, that's why
at least she was keeping it real.
They were probably $5. She's just paying that back.
That's funny.
Geez, I'm distracted now.
Well, here, listen. While you're distracted, one of the things that I noticed even in her live stream is if you disagree with a LeBron fan, I saw it firsthand. They just try to overtalk you. I've never seen so many grown men try to overtalk a woman. Well, no, that's not true because AOH, you host this all the time. They speak so poorly to her because she's perceived as a non-threat. In any other form, you get like some sort of respect, but it was disgusting to watch.
Wow.
You caught my joke about calling you a woman, though, right? Like you did get
that.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
There?
I can't imagine why you're not making it as a comedian.
I was just checking my delay.
Bang.
AR23 says, is LeBron James the first sports industry plant? Pretty clear to me, personally. I can't think of when you think about somebody who they made the decision ahead of time and stuck with that decision no matter what he did afterward.
You know what's crazy with LeBron James, like we mentioned, is there have been other players in, sports history that have had the media behind them and have been pumped up and celebrated before they even won anything. We'd be like, damn, this guy's being overhyped. They're being over-celebrated. But what ends up happening, as that player goes throughout their career, one or two things going to happen. Either they're going to live up to all of that hype, or they're not going to live up to that hype. But what happens is people start to come into their senses and once again start to keep it real and report the facts and keep the facts the facts. So when these players end up doing dumb things or saying stupid things or not really fulfilling themselves out on the court, never developing or any of these kinds of things, they'll shout them out. They'll call them out for this. They'll lose that support. The thing about LeBron James, he's never lost those supporters. Even if you think about Brian Windhorst, this man is still going to support LeBron James, even if he calls him a weirdo, all of this stuff. He's still going to take that bullet for LeBron James at the end of the day, man. And why? Because these people have nothing else going on, I guess, and they just follow LeBron James blindly because they really believe that deep down that maybe, just maybe, one day they will truly be friends with LeBron James. Just like his supporters. That's why they're really here. Sometimes they'll say to me, oh, you just make your videos. Michael Jordan don't know who you are, blah, blah, blah. I'm not making my videos for Michael Jordan. LeBron James fans
Right.
come to the comment section because they think that they're actually going to do something and they're actually going to, meet LeBron James one day. He's going to find out and get, hey, man, I just found out, man, that over on the Sunday Live, man, a couple of your supporters are out there just destroying sports and fitness rants. You should go over there and find out who those guys are. They ain't no one going to meet y'all, but you guys keep coming back. All of you fools voted LeBron James to the All-Star game, and the man came out in street clothes.
Yeah. Yeah, he has no respect for his fans. He just doesn't. I don't know why these people follow this guy. I've never had one explain it to me right. Why is he worthy of your admiration? No one has ever just flat out gave me an explanation for that. They just always go silent.
Guys, I need to get
this.
I need to get this off my chest because it was really disturbing. With my TNT overtime recording against the Warriors, you can hear certain things that the regular broadcast doesn't pick up. And you heard I guess these are men screaming, "We love you, LeBron. We are glorious, LeBron." And I mean, they're actually doing it. They're actually males screaming these things. And by the way, this is in a game where LeBron James is flopping on the ground in a more horrifying, embarrassing manner than any display of a Karen I could even think of. And what do? They scream, "I love you." And by the way, in that game, LeBron was, if any of you want reality checks, go to the NBA leaderboards following games, and you'll see that LeBron James is never on them except in the turnovers. And yet you're talking about him being in the MVP category. It happened yet again. But two of his teammates were, Reeves and Luka was on the leaderboard in two categories. Hey, what kind of acknowledgement is Luka getting? He's actually being blamed. The new scapegoat.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yep. Listen, let's be real. Like we said, if Anthony Davis never requests a trade and goes to the Lakers, if he doesn't have Luka Doncic right now, the Lakers are not doing anything under LeBron James, man, because he's not willing to develop players, to sacrifice the role. I mean, just think about it. A couple of years ago, while he was trying to chase Michael Jordan. He was trying to become the oldest scoring champ in NBA's history, which is Michael Jordan's feat, by, going out there and chucking up all these shots. He was taking like 23 shots a game. But the funny thing about it was, if you remember, LeBron James was doing this while playing like 53 games that season. This man was literally trying to cheese a scoring title by playing a minimal amount of games and saying, yes, I averaged X amount of points this season. Michael Jordan averaged the points that he averaged damn near every year, playing 82 games, damn near essentially almost every one of those scoring title seasons was an 82-game season, man. And like we said, giving the effort on both sides. He didn't shortchange any of those accolades or honors that he won. That's the thing about Michael Jordan. You can't say that he cheesed a defensive accolade or some kind of scoring title by only playing 60 games that season. No, that man was out there every night, risking that every night.
Sports T, thanks for tuning in, even though you couldn't make it. Sorry for the abuse you get from LeBron fans. That's pretty despicable and yet not surprising. We have Bookmark says respect, thank you. And let's keep going. Let's read a few
Bookmark.
more. Let's see. Short, sweet, simple from Bookmark. And after Bookmark, we have, this is Rise Above Anything with the super chat. MJ equals quality over quantity. Amen to that. People even know what that means anymore?
For real. Shout out to Rise Above Anything, another true supporter of our lives. Thank you very much. Once again, all you guys out there, man. That's what it's about, man. The quality of those years that Michael Jordan was out there.
And Urshad, 5th and 3. Shit, somebody else read these so I don't have to destroy myself.
Somebody else has to reference Kim Jong-un on this public platform.
Kim Jong-un. The hell?
Primetime Henry.
Yeah.
Thank you for that super chat. Sorry for murdering your name. Let's see what else. Who else we got going on here? Siberius is back. Longevity is John Stockton only missing 22 games in his career, or Jordan not losing 3 games in a row from 90 to 98. And by the way, Jordan was actually there and playing, not ducking against difficult matchups in order to keep a streak going.
I want people to understand that first season, 93-94, when Michael Jordan wasn't there, the Chicago Bulls had 3-game losing streaks within the first 15 games of that season. The first 15 games of the season, they lost 3 games in a row. So that was the first season without Michael Jordan. So when we talk about that 3-game winning streak, that's what remember, the Bulls lost 3 games in a row at the beginning of the 90-91 season. They opened up the season losing 3 games in a row that year. And the story goes that Michael Jordan laid into those guys in the locker room. And he said, listen, man, we're not going to lose 3 games in a row again, man, this season. And they never lost 3 games in a row again. Not just that season, again.
Speaking of that 94 season, I did a video a few days ago on that and stuff that, the media just jumps on it like, a dog in heat whenever they hear about, oh, yeah, they only lost 2 less games the year before. So I set a trap for the LeBron trolls who come and they fell for it. I said that, oh, yeah, they added Tony Kukoc and Steve Kerr and Luke Longley. And, of course, they said, oh, what's the big deal? Those guys are bums. I said, well, he won a three-peat with those bums. You know what I mean? They were 3 of the top 7 players in minutes played. Exactly. I said, so I don't know. Are they bums now, but not bums when they play in the three-peat? I mean, which one is it? And the thing people don't understand either is I'd researched this. 94 East had 7 All-Stars out of the 12 that made their only All-Star of their whole career. No other All-Star team in NBA history had more than 4 that happened to. I mean, you had like Charles Oakley, John Starks, B.J. Armstrong, Kenny Anderson, Derek Coleman, Mookie Blaylock, all these guys that never would have made All-Stars in any other year because all the people that left the East, Detlef Schrempf, Isaiah Thomas, Brad Daugherty, Larry Nance, Dominique Wilkins, all were injured, retired, Dennis Rodman traded. I mean, it's staggering. It has a lot to do with why the Bulls did what they did. But ultimately, they lost in the second round. People act like they got beat in the finals or something. Like they lost in the second round. Yep. Give me a break.
Speaking of All-Stars, with you being the stats guy, do you know when they switched the voting format? Like how it was weighted, media versus fans versus players.
You're talking about
format, right? The All-Star game voting?
All-Star?
I think it was right around that time. And I know B.J. Armstrong was like 2nd or 3rd leading vote getter.
He was leading vote getter for all of the guards that season, B.J. Armstrong. Insane. And once again, why was he the leading vote getter? Because of what Michael Jordan left for the Chicago Bulls. They weren't popular. See, that's what Michael Jordan does for his teammates. You knew who these guys were and you respected them. You liked them. You didn't call them bums and crap.
Exactly. Horace Grant, too. He made the All-Star team. It was the one and only time he made it. Exactly. Trying to fill that void. But
and LeBron's teammates, by contrast, were All-Stars and stopped being All-Stars.
There you go. Exactly.
Hey, wait, I don't know if you wanted to talk about the whole what's his head? The dude off Grizzlies. Gosh, my memory is so bad. John Morant, the whole John Morant thing. But I do want to say, for people that are making excuses for him just be a kid and everybody in the league gun thing and blah blah blah, you sound crazy. Because if you don't understand that John Morant, if he's not emotionally intelligent enough to know that he's on a radar where he shouldn't be doing stuff by now, then dude kind of should maybe start giving some money back. I don't care who initiated what. When you're John Morant and you've been through what you've been through in the last 2 seasons, you got to know not to do that. And people making excuses for him, I've been seeing that lately. It's been driving me crazy. I don't know if you want to touch on that, but it's a further kind of example of how disgusting things are now.
Yeah, I sort of avoided it because it'll be a rabbit hole, but I agree. Look, if you want to make excuses for these guys as though they can't behave like men because they're young, don't give them millions of dollars because they don't have any business having that either or being treated like gods. Listen, take away their social media. If you don't think they're old enough to behave properly, then they shouldn't be on social media or on TV. You're basically saying, oh, this guy isn't mature enough for us to be looking up to. I guarantee the same people that made excuses for him are the people that look up to him. So don't pretend you're calling a guy that you look up to too immature, too young to behave in a proper manner. And we've talked about this before. How old do you have to be before you can act like an adult? It depends on your life circumstances. I've said it before. I was more mature at a younger age than I am now because I was required to be. Let me power through some super chats because I don't want to deprive these guys. We missed some last week, and then we'll come back to this. Murray 504, thank you for your support. My goat is different than everyone else's. To me, it's the inventor of the game. Thank you, Dr. James Naismith, for your invention. Oh, Jim would have liked that one. Too bad you.
Yeah, that's a great one. You know, he would be upset right now with what the game's looking like because that's not the game that he invented.
No, it's not. Let's see. Today's my go. Oh, Sports T with another one. Thank you, Sports T. Today's generation is a joke. Dr. J is the epitome of class, just one of the many small forwards that are way better than LeBron. Man, I made that all-star video. Dr. J was looking good. He walked in there dressed nice. You know what? It matters. Don't look like a fool. Don't look like a goddamn fool.
For real, man, like you said, always carried himself a certain way. Yo, shout out to Sports T once again for coming through and supporting our live. Like I say, coming up and talking about Dr. J. Absolutely, man. You know, I remember somebody told me that the only thing that Dr. J does better than Kevin Durant is slam dunk the basketball. And I started laughing, man. And I was like, this is what we're talking about, man. Everyone thinks that they're an expert on basketball, but they don't want to really give the facts or do the time and look into these things.
With Jay Pitt's super chat, U of H just upset Duke to the championship. Go look at the ESPN roster. They are all wearing suits. They're locked in. I was just talking about this to someone the other day about how you dress and start your day affects your mentality and your approach to your day. I guess this could apply here, but the dark side of what I was going to ask is how many of you LeBron fans are out there saying some shit like, oh, these guys are being oppressed and being forced to wear certain things. Oh God. I don't know. I think it's pretty nice.
But wait, that goes in the line of what we were saying. These guys, listen, it's very important to be a professional. You know, when you guys were talking earlier with the stuff, you know, we're talking about learning from your mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, man. Be young and be stupid. And, oh, I'm from this area, so I had nothing when I grew up. So now that I was given something, I'm acting a certain way. Absolutely. Go out there and be dumb. You might die. You may not. You might go to jail. You might not. But you have to learn from the mistakes, whatever the consequences are. You cannot always have excuses made for you, man. And I think that's the most important thing for a lot of these people out here. Go do what you want to do. Live your life, man. But remember, there's a couple of ways this can go. You know, when we think about, you know, something like that movie Fast and the Furious, you think about something like Paul Walker, man. He lived his life a certain way, you know, driving fast cars and, you know, that was part of his thing. And this is how he ended up losing his life in a fast car, you know, with his friend, you know, like I said, just doing what they do, man.
Sports T, yet again. Thank you. LeBron is so smart, but entire James family has all but less than 1 year of college. Maybe Bronny will go to college to teach LeBron how to read. I think it's really tragic that Bronny didn't continue in college. I just, for him.
So I'm all about like, all right, well, if school's not for you, all right, no judgment. But the reason I'm going to stand behind that statement alone is because we're consistently inundated with how smart he is and how educated he is and how high his IQ is. So if that was never said, if that was rarely mentioned, then okay, maybe I'd be like, all right, well, like take it easy. But no, the opposition, and it is an opposition, unfortunately, is that, you know, he's so smart and, you know, he knows when these world events happen before they happen, and he can predict the stock market, but he can't read the first page of a book. He can't tell you why Malcolm X is an important man, other than the fact that he's smart or a great man. When you put him on the spot in a setting where it's not performative and it's not rehearsed, he's like a turtle on his shell. You just watch him just kind of like flail around and look for something until AOH, like you said, I think it was either you or maybe Robin, they guide him to the correct answer. You see it, and like it's like watching a child, you know, do public speaking for the first time. There's you know, their grandparents are in the crowd saying, you know, you can do it. Like, just get through this, and they guide them through the process. That shouldn't happen for somebody who holds themselves in such high esteem.
Rogue Mark, thank you for the super chat. Very kind of you. He says, if Magnus Carlsen said he would dominate in chess 500 years ago, people would agree, but would think he's gone a bit loco. Yeah, you just didn't talk that way. Lobozo doesn't realize what a self-own it is to worry about back then. LeBron doesn't realize a lot of things when it goes back to what I asked at the beginning of the show. Are there any consequences? Like the lack of consequences, his behavior continues to get worse. There will either be a reckoning or society is going to continue down this spiral where the truth just doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, that whole 70s thing, it just blew my mind, why he would say something so outlandish and just the disrespect that he gives. And besides the fact that we all know that wouldn't happen, Giannis isn't going to go and just dominate people. He'd fit in with Artis Gilmore and George McGinnis and all the other big guys of that era. He'd be just one of them. He'd be an all-star, be an all-NBA probably, but he's not dominating anything. That's just LeBron in a roundabout way saying that Giannis is in my era, so he'd be badass. So, that makes me badass. Everything is always self-serving in a roundabout way, somehow about LeBron James. Always.
Yep. I had a subtopic about the LeBron, the Giannis thing. I thought, did LeBron actually put a target on Giannis a little bit? Because by him doing that, a lot of people, including myself, I think Giannis is very dominant. I think he's very good, but a lot of them said we took Giannis and compared him to guys from the past and said things like, I'll speak for myself, said, oh, well, Giannis, you would get destroyed by this person and that person. And so we started talking about who would beat Giannis. And, LeBron James kind of escaped, if you think about it, because now we're talking about who would beat Giannis. I don't know.
Yeah, well, what it forced was or made us realize is that, once again, LeBron James is not there to educate the people. And he, in fact, doesn't know or respect the history of the game. These guys are disingenuous. Because when you make that statement, we're going to look at Giannis and say, hey, Giannis wouldn't be able to do this. But what are we saying? We're not saying that Giannis is not great. What we're saying is that if none of these guys could score 250 points in a game, and those guys were great, just as great, they had overall offensive games, they could shoot better maybe than Giannis. If they couldn't do that, if no NBA team scored 250 points in a single game in 1970s, then you sound ridiculous saying that Giannis would, when we all realize that he doesn't have an overall polished offensive game. So what was he really going to do if Bob McAdoo couldn't score over 100 or 200 points in a game, whatever the hell? Or, George Gervin didn't do this. Or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't do it in the 70s. I mean, it's insane.
Jesse Glad Saget, thank you for the super chat. He says, LBJ equals Nat. Gonna need another all-star teammate. Yes, another all-star teammate to become the scapegoat.
Shout out for N and N. Also, they said LeBron bringing up Giannis was a recruitment tactic, not only just to take for Giannis to act as an avatar for LeBron, which was clear as day, right? But also in a means of like, oh yeah, I think you're great so I'm going to recruit you without saying when to recruit you. I thought that was interesting. I never thought about that up until this point.
Franchise Sports TV. Hello, Franchise. Welcome to the chat. LeColtis are the most delusional fan base of all time, wishing they can be in Savannah's place. Savannah. I wish it was a joke. They've actually said these things.
Right. He's personal. Like we always say, shout out to Franchise Sports for coming through. Yeah, it's a personal attachment that we're talking about. It's not to LeBron James, the basketball player, that they're attached to. It's actually LeBron James, the actual person. That's why a lot of times in the comments, when they speak, when you read their comments, they call him Bron, LBJ. They know him personally, man. They talk about the money he has in his bank account as if they're getting some of the money. They've gone to the bank and pulled out $20 and they've seen the receipt. They've seen the statement. They'll talk about his kids. Oh, LeBron James is a great father. He never did nothing wrong. This is what they say. Like they know what he's doing behind closed doors. We don't know what any of these people are doing, man. I don't know Michael Jordan personally. I know Michael Jordan, the basketball player, and what that man did on the basketball court and how he carried himself on and off the court. That man played with some love, and that man went out there and gave effort. I told you, the bare minimum he could do was show up, and he showed up. LeBron James couldn't even show up, like I just mentioned. Couldn't even show up for an All-Star game.
But Robin, if I could get you to stop shouting for a second, what you just said was, we're not in his head, blah, blah, blah. That is the exact response that you get from a LeBron fan, right? You know, you're not in that man's house, blah, 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 when it's in his favor. So it just circles back to they want it every which way. And it doesn't work that way. You can't, in order to remain some sense of consistency, you have to have some kind of level that you want to hold things at. You can't just manipulate stuff as you see fit. So, when we started the show, I talked about the word narrative. Jim, you talked about narrative. Why is it that the narrative of that one there made me the greatest of all time is this universally accepted thing from LeBron fans, but anything that we have to say, which is also a narrative, by the way, is, well, we're not in his head. We're not counting his pockets, strive for greatness. You can't.
Okay, I don't know Jordan. I don't know LeBron, but we do have their public behavior to go on. And based on that, I would never, ever choose to hang out with LeBron James. And you LeBron fans who have never been to LeBron's house or hung out with LeBron, you also only have his public behavior. What does he do? He cries, he moans, he blames, he throws people under the bus, takes all the credit for himself.
Right.
How exactly does that equal someone that you would like to hang out with? Is that because that's how you are? Does he match your personality?
That's what it sounds like. That'd be my guess. These people, I don't know why of all the people to follow, that guy of all people, I don't get it. You know what I mean?
Jim, because they were told to, and that's how deeply human beings think now.
Yeah, but there's a Stockholm syndrome component to it. They've been around it so long. It's like, all right, well, I get it. I'm on his side now.
I mean, if you asked, here's another guy, a superstar in this era. You asked Patrick Mahomes, hey, Patrick, are you the GOAT now? Did you overtake Tom Brady? He's not going to say I'm the GOAT now. I guarantee he's not. He's going to say, I'm not there yet. I got a lot of ball left. Whatever he's going to say, it's not going to end in, yes, I think I'm the GOAT. I guarantee he would not say that. That's a guy who has some class versus a guy who has none. A narcissistic guy since he was like 17 years old. We know the story. It's just a joke. And these people that follow him too, like you said, they got to be the same exact way. Narcissistic at heart. Yeah, LeBron, say you're the GOAT, man. Yeah, do it. I mean, it's got to be. There's just no other explanation. No humility, no honor. Like I said, I mean, my childhood heroes of Walter Payton, Bruce Lee, they were worthy of our admiration. You know what I mean? These guys didn't talk like this, but this bum does, and people just follow blind witnesses. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And knowing all that we know now about this guy, even with like the PED swirling around, all this stuff, there's just they still continue to do it. I've never seen anything like it. I really haven't.
How much to Walter Payton, man?
What's that? You said Walter Payton?
Yeah.
Because if you think about Walter Payton was the man when Michael Jordan came to town into Chicago in the 80s. That was Walter Payton's town. Listen, the Chicago is always going to be a Bears city, man. The Chicago Bears, that's their team, man. The Walter Payton Bears, man. The Walter Payton in Chicago. And look at the role model. Look at who he had to look at. Look who was there for the example for Michael Jordan. Remember, Walter Payton and Michael Jordan were doing commercials together in the mid to late 80s. They did charity events together. What a great person to look up to, man. Walter Payton, man.
I want to see LeBron James do a Walter Payton off-season workout. I don't want to see these I don't want to see these gym muscle poses. I want to see you do what Walter Payton did. You mentioned those two guys, Bruce Lee, Walter Payton. Physically, you looked at them and thought,
right.
Now I look at LeBron James, and this is sad. I look at his layups. I look at his rebounds. I even look at his assists, and I think I could fucking do that. I never looked at Bruce Lee or Walter Payton and thought I could do that.
Exactly.
Look at Barry.
I could make that shot. I could make that rebound. No one's on the same side of the court. So don't talk about me being too small. It doesn't fucking matter. No one's there to even compete with me. That's the NBA now.
I know.
Different.
Ed Walsh.
Wouldn't it be say Barry Sanders was considered, if not the greatest running back, one of the top running backs of all time?
He is. I was just saying he's another guy that would be worthy of your admiration. It's just that I was born in Illinois and I grew up with Walter Payton as a very, very young kid. I'm just saying somebody grew up in Detroit watching him. Sure, same thing. No question. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. That's what we grew up watching. And now these guys grow up watching these guys and they're kind of turning into what they watch. Like AOH said, I think he's right.
Ed Walsh, thank you. May 13th, 2010, we were all witnesses. Let me get through a couple more here. Ayal Sabag says LeBron has less offensive rebounds per game, 1.1, than MJ, 1.6, and Mike is 40 pounds lighter and 3 inches shorter. Yeah. And other people were there trying to get the rebounds back then.
Shout out to Ayal.
If you look at LeBron James and we talk about rebounding for your position, just versus other small forwards in NBA's history, it's an embarrassment of epic proportions, man. There are so many other great players, great small forwards, that are so much greater offensive rebounders, just overall greater rebounders, because they gave more effort on the rebounds. And those guys, a lot of those players, they played in eras where you had to earn it. You had to battle through elbows. You had to battle amongst the 7-footers. There were legit guys in the paint back then. Like AOH just mentioned, these guys are getting a lot of flat-foot rebounds. It's not the same. You don't have to give the same level of effort as back in them days. So when you think about someone like Scottie Pippen, he was a much better rebounder than LeBron James was, man. I know I knock Scottie Pippen a lot because I feel like he's being overhyped now. People are trying to put him in another realm. But he was an excellent player. Dominique Wilkins, a much greater offensive rebounder than LeBron James by a mile. It's not even close, man.
Drexler, too.
Larry Bird. A lot of these guys are much greater rebounders. Dr. J. They put LeBron James to shame, man.
Alone would eat in this era just based off swinging elbows alone.
Nick Tri-State says Steph was getting an MVP chance in LA. Enough said. I did hear that. The thing is, you hear so many weird things coming out of those people in LA that I don't know when it's they're being facetious or if he was getting real MVP chance. But thank you for that, Nick. I did hear that. I mean, that was right after hearing men say they love LeBron and calling him glorious. So I don't know what to fucking think anymore. You know, we had a guy from LA on here who talks about, no real LA fan respects LeBron, but the fucking stadium's full of someone. I mean, it's got to be difficult. It's got to be difficult to be around these weirdos that showed up, these cult followers that are buying tickets to go and scream that they love someone while that person acts like a Karen on the floor. No More Kings says, FYI, they dress all goofy because they get paid by the high fashion industry, that too, to wear those outfits. That's why players don't say anything. Well, as if they aren't getting paid enough. At some point as a man, maybe say, you know what, I got enough money. I don't need to wear your goofy shit.
I mean, like I said, I have no problem with guys wearing whatever. Listen, we all joke and we laugh. Guys wearing dresses and guys looking like traffic cones and guys look like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and, guys just coming in weird outfits. We get all that. I got no problem with people expressing themselves. What I'm speaking to is the thing that I'm noticing, or it feels to me, the feeling I get is that these guys care and give more effort into what they're going to wear than when coming to the game. So they'll actually load manage just so they can wear these weird outfits on the bench, man, and look cool, or they think look cool.
Did you see SGA the other day with that camo outfit on? I thought he was from Hamas or something. Did you see the outfit? I mean, it was ridiculous.
I did a video last season on SGA. He came to one of the games in a tight gold outfit. It was like a skin-tight pleather outfit. A shirt, pants, all gold. It was crazy. I did a video, and I'm like, this is why I can't be a fan of you. You might be a great player. You might be fantastic. I'm not knocking your overall game. You might be able to do it on the court, but I'm not going to get behind you and wear your jersey when you're dressing like that. And like I said, by all means, man, knock yourself out.
My biggest problem with Westbrook and his goofiness was the commercial in which he they show him stepping into the factory or whatever, pretending like he was helping design the shit or help seam the clothing. I'm like, come on, nobody believes this. Nobody.
He does have a small investment into a fashion company. A lot of it does go towards
That
charity.
doesn't mean he walks into the factory and fucking measures shit and does some sewing.
Oh shit.
A lot of people remember Tim Duncan dressed like a maniac. He dressed like somebody that mails bombs to people. But I had I had his jersey.
He dressed like somebody his mama was dressing him.
That's what I'm saying. And nobody cared. Even MJ to this day still gets made fun of for wearing these gigantic suits that looks like, they belong to his granddad or something. But nobody equates that because it was just like a rare thing.
That was a bad period in time for suits.
Yeah.
You go through the 3-button, the 4-button, the vest, the no vest, and then they went through the big shoulder stage. And if you were old enough, you had a couple of suits like that. But yeah.
Listen, a lot of the guys, it was like their personality. Like when we think about Dennis Rodman in the 90s and the things that he would wear and the way he dressed, but that went in line with his personality, with his game, the way that he conducted himself on and off the court. That was Dennis Rodman all the time. That was the problem with Dennis Rodman sometimes. When you see some of these guys, it's almost like they're dressing for an act. Like I said, they're actors. That's not really them. They're not really like Dennis Rodman was. Dennis Rodman was a legit rock star. So he dressed like a rock star. He acted like a rock star. These guys are not rock stars. These guys are social media creations, man. Like you said, they get paid to wear these goofy outfits and they think that they're looking cool. But that's not who you really are.
They're showcasing their brands is what they're doing. Everybody's a brand now.
Yeah. Well, and that's why, and then you have to hear about, I'm serving my community with this clothing brand. I'm like, are you taking a paycheck from a fashion company? Anyway, BLACKS says, Braun is drinking wine with the lights dim with another man.
No, word.
No shit.
And gossiping about other men like a desperate housewife. I mean, you nailed it.
Yeah.
That's so true. I don't even know what to say to that.
And he's doing it in between games to do what he does every time, shit on other men.
He's just sipping wine.
Right. He had wine at the sideline. Right. Between games.
Just for variety, I wonder if LeBron could go on a show and give someone a compliment. I just wonder if he can fucking do it. If he can.
He's going to become a wine connoisseur after his basketball career. He's going to be the guy that sniffs the cork.
You did a really good job giving me that compliment back there, Kendrick Perkins. Thank you. That's what he'll
say. Sports team, my goodness. Dropping lots of support today. Thank you. LeBron didn't dominate today's era. How could he dominate past eras? Hey, just give him a talk show and let the people giggle while he says stupid shit. Is that what McAfee does, or was that a particularly douchey episode?
Pretty.
Or does he just let everyone go on there and say any dumb shit that they want to and giggle like a fucking?
I mean, listen, my honest opinion on Pat McAfee, and like I said, I'm not speaking for any of you guys, anybody in the chat, and I'm not saying not to watch his show or anything like that, but I watch this show called College Game Day for college football every Saturday when it's out, and he's a new member to College Game Day, and ever since he's been on there, I haven't really liked his vibe, because to me, he comes across as a guy who likes to steal thunder a lot. He's a real, like I said, to me, a guy who just comes in there and tries to be the main guy all the time on that show when he's the new guy on that show. So you have to kind of like earn your stripes, so to speak. And I always felt like he was the guy that was always trying to steal people's thunder on that show. So I never really had a good vibe from him, but I don't watch his show.
So we have another super chat from Cameron Peterson. Thank you again. Charlie Kirk, a political guy, dismantled a LeBron fan on a college campus. Definitely recommend checking it out. Interesting. I'll look into it. Hey,
okay.
Boy, I don't know. This could go down well, let me read this super chat and I'll come back. Praise the Dawn with another super chat. Thanks again. NBA players sell their souls. Yeah, if they ever developed a soul.
I know.
Yeah, shout out to Praise the Don again for coming through. That's what I'm saying. They're always flip-flopping, these guys. You hear them say one thing one week, the next week they're saying something contradictory. I remember last year, Dan Le Batard called LeBron James the modern-day Muhammad Ali. Then just a couple of weeks ago, you hear Dan LeBron say, oh, I think LeBron James might be using some chemicals. So which one is it, Dan LeBron? You just realized that just now? You didn't think about the suspicions that have been swirling around for years where you felt it's okay to call him the modern day Muhammad Ali? You sound ridiculous, man. How are we supposed to take you serious? But he has his own show.
Was he talking about political wise or just talking about how great he was in his sport compared to Ali?
He was talking about LeBron James on and off the court and LeBron James being compared to Muhammad Ali. Yo, Jim, let's be real. Anytime someone compares you to Muhammad Ali, they're talking about your impact outside of the sport. That's what I thought about.
Yeah, this guy went to jail for what he believed in. LeBron's never going to go to jail for anything, believe me. He'd sell everybody in his camp out before he spent 1 minute in jail.
No.
He'd do a full Barry Bonds, believe me.
Ron would not do well in jail.
It would be just some jail in his house or some basement in his school. It wouldn't even be real jail.
Pablo Escobar
jail. Work in prison.
So Spain brought up Ja, and something disturbing that I saw from another content creator was basically basing it on Buddy Hield did it first, which if I shorten that, it's a case of he did it first. I mean, how immature are we? I mean, really, that's all you have to do is point to someone else. You're a 3-year-old getting in trouble at preschool and saying he did it first. Do you know how to behave or do you not know how to behave? And by the way, what Buddy Hield did is questionably a gun gesture. Like I've done this with my hands, like giving someone a shout out. That's not me shooting at somebody. Anyway, I don't want to dissect whether Buddy Hield was doing a gun or not, but Jaws looked like a military rifle.
You don't want to ask what kind of gauge firearm Buddy Hield had was?
I don't know. Do you know? Did you break that down?
It's a no. He did it. But what's even wilder is Draymond Green. Oh, he was the first person to go like point to the ref and say no. Ja did it. Like it's that kind of like snitch kind of culture, whatever. But it goes back to they both did it. It doesn't matter who did it. Ja should still be smart enough situationally. Obviously, he isn't to know that. Yeah, but I'm going to be on a radar. You know what I mean? Like,
which leads me to what I saw was The Odd Couple had a headline that said Ja's being judged by his reputation, not his actions. Ladies and gentlemen, what's more important than your reputation?
Listen,
how else do you judge somebody? How else do you judge somebody? Their fucking reputation. So don't fucking tell me it's unfair to judge someone for their reputation.
I was just about to say, I remember there was this old thing, you know, I remember hearing, and it's called your reputation has preceded you. I remember them people saying that a lot back in the day. Oh, your reputation has preceded you. Oh, I've heard of you before. Whether it's good or bad, that comes before people even meet you sometimes. So like you mentioned, the burden's not on Buddy Hield. Once again, who the hell's Buddy Hield? Buddy Hield's no one. He's a role player in the NBA. Much respect to him. I would never even come close to making the NBA or ever, nothing like that. So shout out to him. But you're a role player in the league, dude. The responsibility and the burden is not on Buddy Hield. The burden and responsibility falls on John Morant, the guy who just got suspended last season for playing with guns. So this is the reputation. Which, if you guys remember Dennis Rodman, the problem for Dennis Rodman on the Chicago Bulls at that point in his career is that his reputation was so bad with the referees that any kind of way that he looked at the referees, anything that they thought he was doing was perceived technical foul. Technical foul. That's why it became so important for guys like Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson, the leadership to rein him in just because of his reputation. You know, I remember when I went to boot camp, you see how I am now. Obviously, I'm a loud individual. I got a lot of energy. I talk fast. I walk fast. Well, when I went to boot camp, I found out quickly that wasn't going to fly. So once again, I adjusted, right? Because I had a certain reputation about me, a certain way that I was. But I understand I had to make a change. That wasn't going to work in boot camp. I couldn't be louder than those guys, or I was going to pay the price ultimately. A lot of these guys, John Morant, like we mentioned, you're not learning from your mistakes.
But not only that, Robin, reputation used to play a big part in game because you would always put that nobody in, right? Because they would get under the hothead skin based on their reputation because they know that that dude's probably going to get called for a bunch of fouls or get teed up twice and get kicked out. Reputation was that important that you would send in that nobody, waste 6 fouls, not even waste, use 6 fouls to get under that dude's skin because of who they were based on the past experiences. AOH, we don't do that anymore because that involves holding people accountable, which is no longer a thing.
No.
I was going to say, Dennis Rodman, you go back and look, and Dennis Rodman looks like a model citizen compared to LeBron James's behavior. Like LeBron James should be ejected from every game the way that he behaves towards the refs.
I mean, your reputation could save your life back in the day. I mean, if people didn't know who other people were, when you watch these old Western movies and you think about the way time was back in the day, you knew who some of these people were off their reputation, man. You see a wanted post or the way that these guys live their lives. You wasn't going to go mess with this dude. Why? Because of the reputation that he earned. So that saved your life. Oh, damn. You just saved your own life not starting a fight with this guy. You know, I remember joking with my daughter one time about lying and how back in the day, lying or calling somebody a liar when they weren't a liar or they didn't think they were lying, that could kill you. You would have to go outside and duel with somebody if they perceived that you were calling them out that way. You calling me a liar? We got to go outside and handle this. So I joked around with her. I'm like, listen, that's how much your word meant back in them days because that's all you had was your word. So if someone called you on your word, it might come to death. That's how much it meant. Now, no one cares about their word. So they say one thing one week, they say another thing the other week. No one stands on integrity or honor. Honor.
It's sad. I'm laughing because it's sad that so many people can't even relate to what you're saying, Robin. Like lying is just fine now. Yeah. And when you get caught lying, all you have to do is provide an excuse. We live in an excuse society. I heard somebody call us the old man or the old head podcast. I don't know if you think that's supposed to hurt my feelings because I feel you go back and look at any video I've ever done and I'm going to feel good about it because I respect those who are respectable. I don't try and prop up these embarrassing fake men of today. If that's who you want to support, then that's on you.
Oh, I read that as a compliment. Okay, I didn't realize.
It could be, but you don't know. Maybe it was. But BLACKS has a pretty good opener to a topic. I don't know how much longer we're going to do this, but that's a super chat. If Steph wins another ring this year, this so-called debate between him and LeBron is finished. I would like to agree with you, except that LeBron being in the debate is already absurd. So if we can be this absurd, why would we suddenly put a limit on how absurd it can continue to be? For example, like the last 3 seasons, they've pretended that the Warriors figured it out and have this new death lineup, and it hasn't been. But just in case Steph wins again, you've got this out that, look, Steph had a super team, and that's the only reason that he won and LeBron didn't. I mean, I don't know.
Once again, they raise the bar for the player they're comparing to LeBron James, and they lower the bar for LeBron James himself. That's the only way that you can rationalize. I told you, I'm done with this conversation. This conversation has been done with me for the last couple months now. I'm done with the LeBron James, Steph Curry. I'm ranking Steph Curry above LeBron James all time. To me, it was the Steph Curry era of 2010. I'm done with this. I don't want to hear about it anymore. It's been done. You know, they like to say that, LeBron James at worst is right behind Michael Jordan. I laugh at anyone who thinks that. There's no way in hell LeBron James right behind Michael Jordan. No. Whether you think Michael Jordan's the greatest player of all time or not, he's not right behind Michael Jordan. I'm telling you that right now. Wherever Michael Jordan is on your list, LeBron James far away from that dude, man. Far away.
Did you guys know the subtle difference in even how Reggie Miller is reporting LeBron? It used to be LeBron's the GOAT, right? But now it's LeBron and Steph are generational players.
All right.
That's
you know how they say, I hope you guys have something to do after LeBron retires. Listen, the only thing that keeps LeBron James relevant is comparing him to Michael Jordan, or now talking about him in the same sentence as Steph Curry. Oh, that makes it interesting. Steph has as many rings as LeBron, and in my opinion, are more respectable than LeBron's. Like, how is LeBron getting a pass right now for this absurd Luka thing. Like Luka was the number 2 ranked player in the league. Oh, well, let's just add him to LeBron's team and then pretend again that LeBron doesn't have any help.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we don't have enough. What did he say? We had too many minimal players. Isn't that what he said? In my,
It's just
yeah,
disgusting.
too many of those.
In
Yeah,
Cleveland.
Bosch and Wade in their prime's not enough. I need more. It is a laugher. I don't know. I think that LeBron and the Curry debate is kind of a dumb one. I mean, look, I do have a couple issues with Curry's career. It has nothing to do with it, not even his fault. It's just that all the teams that could have really challenged him got hurt. Like we never got to see him take down the 2017 Spurs, the 2018 Rockets, fair and square. And again, not his fault, and they probably would have won anyway, but we didn't get to see it. That's all I'm saying. And then in 2022, there was some upsets, some injuries, all that kind of stuff. Again, not his fault. 2015 finals, there was injuries. So we're never going to know for sure. But LeBron James only won when he had formed a super team, and 2022 Warriors, 2015 Warriors were not a super team. For sure, those were not super teams. No doubt.
Correct. Siberia says the age of no accountability is running rampant. I can't disagree with you.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
That's what they're going to call it in the history books, if books are still a thing, a century from now. It's the age of no accountability across the board.
Well, let's wrap it up strong, gentlemen, unless you got anything pressing on your minds that we didn't talk about.
Nah, this is a great live. Like I said, man, once again, man, everybody who came through on the super chats and stuff, man, thank you very much, guys. Like I said, it's truly humbling, man. There was a lot to read off there. So we always appreciate the support for real and you guys interacting with us.
Thank you, Speam Engine, for being here. Thank you, Self-Researched NBA Facts, Jim. Thank you, Sports and Fitness Rants. And thank you, everyone who tuned in. And I don't know. We'll try. I'll try and go live again this week. Robin's going live a lot recently. Check in on everyone's channels. Jim, boy, sit down and get ready to take notes because Jim always does some pretty heavy research. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
everyone who came
Thanks
through.
for having me.
Thanks, everyone, for the support, and we'll see you next time.
I appreciate
All
you.
right. See you guys. Have a good week.